The crisis shelter has been open for over 4 years now, and so far this has not been a dream destination for any of our guests. In other words, no one has ever said, "Someday I hope to live at a homeless shelter when I grow up." The Life Change Seminar is presented to you today in order to motivate and inspire you so that you can begin to hope again starting today. Rich Schaus, the director of the Crisis Shelter, believes in you and desires you to discover your dreams and design a path toward them.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, what I would like you to start by doing is close your eyes for a moment. Be real careful. Michaela, I know you like to fall asleep. So close your eyes, please. And I want you to imagine, and remember, we are just imagining. I am not making any promises here. I'm not giving you anything on this, but I just want you to imagine that I am giving you an all-expense paid trip to anywhere in the world that would be your best favorite destination. Some of you, it might be a beach. It might be an island. It might be Antarctica. It might be a snow-capped mountain where you can go skiing or mountain climbing. Whatever your fantasy is, place yourself into that setting. Dream it. Capture it in your mind. Now, as you're in this setting, I want you to walk around in it. Feel the cold or the heat, the sun or the darkness, whatever it is that it will make you feel happy, that you'll enjoy. Now I want you to invite a few people to be with you. Who are the people who would make you the most happy to be around? The people that would be most fulfilling, the joy you would have. I also think of the people who aren't going to be there. You can do a little dance and rejoicing that they're not there. Next, think of what sort of things you can do. Are you surfing? Maybe you don't know how to surf right now, but in the fantasy, this is your fantasy, we'll pay for you to get your surf trip. We'll teach you how to surf. We'll teach you how to ski, whatever it is that you wish to do. What are the skills you can do? What are the physical abilities? Again, you may not have these yet, but we'll pay to get you up to a place where you can do those. Again, pretending, not offering anything here for free. What are the things that you're learning as you're in this location? Several years ago, I was able to go to Cancun for my little brother's wedding. And there, we went to some Mayan ruins, and I learned so much about the Mayan culture. I didn't plan on it, but I was able to learn some things. So what are the things you're able to learn at this dream location of yours? Maybe you're learning how to mountain climb. Maybe you're learning how to ski, surf, all those things. What are the things in your knowledge about the culture? What are the things you're able to pick up? Now, what are the things that are really, that you're doing there that you've never done before? The exciting things you've accomplished. Now, the other piece I want you to look at, as you're in this fantasy and you're walking through it, how is God speaking to you? He speaks to you in different places, in different ways, and depending on where you're at, you get to experience the spiritual element of who you are in a different sort of way. So in this location, how are you feeling God? How are you experiencing that presence? All right, you can open your eyes now. Were you able to do that somewhat in part? Was everybody able at least to maybe not do the whole thing, but at least in part able to pull this off? Good. Now, if you can do that, then you have the raw material it takes in order to dream and capture and design a life that you've always dreamed of. But it's up to you to do it. You have to use that same skill you just had, that imagination that is often used for so many evil purposes and so many bad purposes, but use it for your dream, to capture it, to live it, to experience it. For me, my fantasy location is my 50th wedding anniversary. This is the event. It's still 36 years in the future. But I have been at this reception so many times. I'm walking into this event with my wife, and I'm wearing my military dress blues. It's the best uniform. It's the uniform that captured my wife's heart. It's what she thought the military was going to be like when we started. Fancy dress. She didn't realize there was going to be a lot of deployments and challenging times, raising the kids on her own for a season, because I was in the dress blues looking good. So I'm wearing my dress blues, and I'm walking in with my wife on my left, because in the Army you always have your wife on your left because you might have to salute. You never thought of that, but if you're holding hands with your wife and a general comes by and you can't get your hand free in time, you're in trouble. They don't get her in trouble. So I always kept her on my left. I was thinking. So we go into this event, and it's a beautifully designed event. I am surrounded as soon as I walk in by family. My children are there, not because they have to be there, but because they want to be there. My friends that I've met either at the crisis shelter, at my church, at different organizations that I'm part of, people I just met hanging out someplace. Just met them and they're all at this party because I've spoken into their life or they've spoken into my life. We've interacted, we've had community and society together and we've enjoyed that relationship. So they're all there. We walk up, we sit at the head table. I'm not a guy who gets to sit at the head table very often. So this is like a special day and it's my fantasy. Anything can happen. It's your fantasy. It's my dream. I can make it happen. So we're sitting at the head table. And as I sit at the head table, I am watching a video that is showing highlights from the great events of my life. Those things that I would say on my bucket list. If you've had a bucket list, you've ever heard of a bucket list, these are things you want to do before you kick the bucket. So it's showing video of me probably running away from a bull at the running of the bulls. It's showing me bungee jumping with my daughter who told me the other day, Daddy, this is on my bucket list. This is what I want to do. I said, it's on mine too. Isn't that exciting? My wife's not so happy about that. But we will go bungee jumping together. I'll be able to go on a cruise, on a safari. I would love to go to Africa and go on a safari. I think that would be the coolest thing in the whole world. Just experience all these different things. There's other things on my bucket list. I want to hitchhike across the state. I don't know why I want to do that. It's so dangerous. But I want to do that for some reason. But all those crazy things. And so use your imagination. You can put all sorts of things. Maybe you want to own a yacht or touch a yacht or see a yacht. Put it on your list. Very good. Well, you maybe want to own a Mercedes. I saw a Ferrari Testarossa the other day, and I was a little envious of that. I was at a place that shouldn't have had a Ferrari Testarossa. I don't know why that was. That was a place that serves the poor. I'm thinking, what's that? Car's way out of place.
Camaro.
A Camaro, if that's your fantasy, put it in there that you got to drive a Camaro. So that would be on the video coming by would remind me of this. And an important piece of this bucket list is going by is I still have the mental capacity to understand and remember those events. I can remember more about those pictures or that video that it is showing. I'm going to give you an example of this. Just a couple weeks ago, I was on vacation with my family. And we were at this campsite, and it was a wonderful campsite, but there was this bench, like a swinging bench, I don't know what like a porch swing sort of thing, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, facing out toward this field. And I look at my wife and say, what in the world is that doing there? That seems like a ludicrous place to put a swing facing that direction. Maybe facing the campground would have made sense, but my brain could not wrap around this. 3 days in a row, we walked past this bench. What in the world is this all about? Maybe some wildlife comes in the field, elk. We're in a place that could be elk or coyotes. I mean, that would have been really awesome to sit in there and see this. But on day 4, we're walking past it, and I look up, and all of a sudden there's this mountain. But the mountain had been there the whole time. The mountain didn't just magically appear, but we had not seen it for 3 days because there had been clouds, and there had been mist, and all this stuff. The fog in the clouds, we could not see this mountain. The mountain suddenly appeared. So that picture would be in my slideshow, in my video of this dream, of this life that I've lived. But I want to be able to remember that story. Because when I saw that mountain, now you have to understand I'm a Christian, and so I see things through a Christian worldview and a biblical worldview. And I listen for God. And I heard God's voice say, just like you didn't know this mountain was here, you don't always know that I'm here. But yet I am here. I am always here with you. And that spoke to my heart. And when I see this pictured in this video, I want to be able to remember that. I want to have my brain in power enough to remember that event. I want to look at the pictures and say, yes, that's my wife next to me. Not to say, who is that woman I'm holding hands with right there? I want to remember all that, have that brain power for that. Then I want to be able to eat the fried chicken. I have a friend who's in his 80s, and he has been told by his doctor he will not eat the fried chicken. I don't think he's really listening, but he was told, you will not eat the fried chicken. I'm going to eat the fried chicken at this, and I want to be healthy enough that nobody's ever told me, don't eat the chicken, don't eat the cake. I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat at this party. The other piece is I'm able to dance with my wife. Might have to learn how to dance first, but I'll be able to dance with my wife. And I don't have a walker, and she's not holding me up. I'm just enjoying this. I'm 75 years old in this fantasy. And I got some pretty good moves, I'm going to tell you, at 75. So I got this whole event going on, and I'm interacting with people. As a spiritual person, the part that is most important to me is that somehow I am reflecting Christ to whoever is there. Like the sun shines a light on the moon, I'm going to be the moon to God's sun. That's who I am as a spiritual person. That's what I want to be true of me. We enjoy the evening. Lots of laughter, lots of memories, talking about all sorts of incredible things. And then my wife and I go home to our home that's paid for, that it's in good repair, and that in the best part of my fantasy, it's off the grid. I'm not paying the utility companies anything because I have solar power or wind power or something that's funding this place and keeping it running. So I have very little bills because my house is paid for. I don't have any utilities. It's a pretty smooth life.
Just the taxes.
Just the taxes. If that's all I got to pay, that's not too bad. He is a strong man, but he has one leg. I love my brother-in-law because he is overcoming the challenge of this one leg. He has got his prosthetic leg that's attached, and he will try new things. At one point, he didn't know how he was going to pull all this off, but he kept trying. He kept trying. And there's a lot of incredible stories for how he has grown in being able to do this. But one of these things that was going to be a challenge to him was that it costs a lot of money to go climb Mount Everest.
Right.
And he goes, how in the world am I going to afford this? So he luckily got in with some people, made some phone calls, and Quaker Oatmeal ultimately pays for him to climb up, not Mount Everest, but a mountain near Mount Everest because you have to try this other mountain before you're allowed to try Everest. They want to see if you're going to make it first. And all he had to do is turn the camera and say, I can do all things because of Quaker Oatmeal, essentially. I can do this mountain climb because of Quaker Oatmeal, which is true, even if he didn't like to eat it, because they were paying for him to go. So you see how that works? You have that fantasy. Don't let any naysayer say it's impossible.
Do you do it?
He hasn't climbed Everest yet. He's still training and working up for it, but he will. I had no doubt that my brother-in-law will make this challenge. He will do it.
Will you let us know when he makes it?
I will let you know. What was scary is the last time he went near Mount Everest, he had to climb up this other mountain. I can't say the name of the mountain he was on because I have no clue. I can't pronounce it. But,
Mount Everest?
well, it's next to Everest. Everest I could say. I got that one down. But somebody died trying to climb Everest the same time he was doing that. And all we got was the news of somebody climbing Everest died. And we thought maybe he had taken a side trip, trying to accomplish his dream a little bit on the side.
Are you trying to pronounce Mount Rushmore?
I was there as a kid, and I was one of my great memories. But the point is that people would have said to him when he first started with his dream, it's impossible. You got one leg, man. How do you think you can't do this? But people are going to tell you, well, you're too stupid, you're too ugly, whatever they may say, it's not true. First of all, every one of you are valuable. You could succeed. You have a heart for it. And I believe if you really capture this dream, that really what you're doing is you're just discovering what God's already placed in you. It's already there. You just got to go dance around it until you find it. And sometimes when you walk through the fantasy, all of a sudden say, oh yeah, that's fulfillment for me. Give you another example of my wife who, when she was a little girl, wanted to be a ballerina. I don't know if that's a common fantasy. A lot of little girls want to be ballerinas. But she discovered, as we were looking for my daughter to be able to do some ballet things, that really that culture wasn't for her. There's a lot of discipline and a lot of things that just, you know what, that's not me, she said. That's just not who I am. So I don't know what it was about it that made me really want to be this. She had given up the dream primarily because her big brother, the mountain climber, had told her she was too fat and clumsy to be able to pull it off. So you may have to reflect on why you believe you can't. And it may be some knucklehead big brother. I love him, but the point is that he was being a knucklehead. Big brothers can be a knucklehead. I was one. And he wouldn't say that now. He really loves his sister. Just when you're little, you say the wrong things. So she looks at this and says, you know what? I love the costumes. I love the music. So now today she teaches my kids how to play the piano, fulfills the music need. She's being a mother, but she's fulfilled in it because she's able to teach the music, and she makes pajamas for my whole family. We're a little bit of a Leave It to Beaver sort of family. Got the whole matching pajamas. We enjoy that life together. It's crazy. I mean, I'm a little bit like Mr. Rogers. I come home, I take my shoes off, put slippers on. It just the way my life is, and I enjoy that. And some of you might think that's corny, but that's really, I enjoy that. But her fact that she gets to make these pajamas fulfills her, helps her to enjoy her role as a spouse, as a mother. She used to make my daughter's dresses because my daughter refused to wear pants for many years. She only would wear dresses, which were too expensive. I'm a social worker. So my wife made all these dresses for her, beautiful dresses. Again, fulfilling that passion of who she is. So she's doing what she always wanted to do, be a mother, but she's fulfilling that full desire that she's been ingrained in her. So we can develop the dream and start working toward it. Now this young man who wanted to play baseball, he did some research. So you're going to have to research, what is it going to take for me to get from here to my dream? Once you have the dream put together, you got to figure it out, that part out. It's not just wake up one day and get your dream accomplished. If it was that easy, everybody would have their dream. You got to get up and say, I'm going to get there. But you have to do research and figure it out. So he figured out I need to eat right, exercise, and need to practice. on a regular basis. So, 10 years old, not going to eat junk food. Not going to eat cake, pies, pizza, chips, skipping all that. I'm eating healthy. I'm going to exercise on a regular basis. I'm going to practice. He had his dad drill a hole through a baseball, hang it from the ceiling in the garage so he can go out and practice hitting no matter what the weather was like. You got to discipline yourself to, if you want this dream, whatever it's going to take, I'm going to do it to get there. Figure out what it's going to take to get from here to there. The next thing he did is he joined 3 different baseball teams. He had one that had an expert coach at hitting, an expert coach at fielding, another one's an expert coach at strategy. What he was doing is he was getting all the components of the game. I'm going to learn everything I possibly can. So for us, the lesson is we need to get some mentors, some people who can accomplish things, show us how we can get there. I don't know the road to everything. I know very little, really. In fact, I'm going to tell you that I wish I would have had a mentor the first time I bought a house. I go in the house, and my wife and I were responding to the fact that we are coming out of a house with a really little bitty kitchen where we did the little kitchen dance. We kind of enjoyed that when we didn't have any kids. You want the refrigerator? Okay, let me switch places with you, honey. And it was a little dance that we would do around the kitchen. So we walked into this house to buy, big, huge, honking kitchen. We were in love with this house right from the get-go. We looked in the attic because we thought we should do that, and we thought, oh, isn't that cute? All these antique coffee cans all over the attic. Now, a mentor over there would have said, you know those coffee cans? They're not there to be cute. Those coffee cans are there to catch water because their roof is leaking. But I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody to say, you know what? You might want to ask some questions about those coffee cans. That mentor can do the same thing for you in any area of your life. A mentor can show you how to have a healthy relationship. I love to talk to couples that have been married 30, 40, 50 years. And you say, well, how in the world did you pull that off? I read about a couple recently that had been married 85 years. And their only advice, talk to each other. It's that simple for them. And the fact that they're living long enough to be married 85 years is impressive in itself. So there's probably some health things you can pick up from that. You want to buy a house, talk to somebody who lives in a house similar to what you want to live in. You want to live in a certain part of the country, talk to somebody who lives there. What is it going to take for you to fulfill your life? Talk to a mentor. And a mentor could be a live person. That's preferred. Any live person can speak into your life much better, because that way you can ask very specific questions. But you may have an expert in your field, your desired profession, in your desired life that you may never get to meet. You can read a book, internet, great resource. Read magazines. Mother Teresa is one of my mentors. You know, I've never met her live, never met her in person, but I've read her books. You think about what I do. I work here at a homeless shelter. She might have some input into what I do. You know, there are times when she's getting insulted. If you watch, we play a video here of Mother Teresa. It's a reenactment of her life. But there's a part where she's just getting chewed out by some guy. I mean, he's just going off. She's evil. She's wicked. She's awful. She just smiles. So what do I do when people are doing that to me now?
Smile.
I just smile. They don't know. Most people don't know how to react when you're not freaking out when they're calling you names. But where did I learn that? I learned it from a mentor. So we can do the same thing. Find a mentor. It could be a real person. It could be a fake person. You can learn things from superheroes. I have a whole speech I can do on that, but I'm not going to do that one today. But you can learn great skills from fake people. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man you might be able to, but he's a little testy in the movies, so you have to read the magazines.
You probably have to learn to play the ball.
Yeah, you might have to do that. But the point is that you can learn from all these different people. I once read a book about Robin Hood that gives me an idea how to deal with people when they come tell me, let's say the two of you had a fight, and you tell me a story, and your story is different than her story, so somebody's not telling the truth. Yeah, well, what's going to happen is they're going to tell me the story, and Robin Hood gave me a trick that I can figure out who's lying to me. It's pretty exciting. I'm going to use it someday. Haven't had to use it yet. Because usually it's really obvious who's lying, because you kind of know personalities and those sort of things. But Robin Hood's giving me a trick. He's fake. He's not even a real person, or a legend at least. So those mentors can do all that for you. So this young man, he grows up. He learns a few other things as he's going along. You know, you don't just learn from the experts. He started learning from the people who were hanging out with him. He watched his other players. There were other guys on 3 different baseball teams who also had the same dream, the same fantasy. But they would go on dates. The date would go too far. The young lady would get pregnant. And in those days, and I wish it was more true today, But in those days, if you got a young lady pregnant, you quit everything, you got a job, and you took care of your new little family that you helped to create. And so these young men would have to quit playing baseball. They gave up their dream. And he says, oh, bingo, gonna learn from their mistakes. I'm not giving up my dream for a one-night date. I'm gonna do what's important. I'm not gonna date all the way through high school. He says in his book, I'll tell you about his book in a little bit, but he says in his book, you know, I probably could have had the discipline and I could have probably held back and controlled myself, but I was a teenager and I didn't want to trust my hormones. Seems pretty wise. I mean, really wise for a 13 or 14-year-old to realize that. Most 13 and 14-year-olds think they can control everything. But he decided, I'm not going to date until I've accomplished my dream. He also watched some of his friends. He learned the Yankees won't take you if you have felonies. I don't know if that's true today, but it was true in those days. And he said, you know what? If I keep hanging out with these guys, they might get caught. They're bad guys. If I hang out with them, I might get in trouble. I might get a felony, and then I'm busted. And a lot of times we don't think about who we're hanging out with. But we need to. I have a friend who actually spent 2 years in prison because she was with the wrong crowd. She happened to be in a car, and they had stolen goods in the trunk. She knew they were thieves. Like, what did you think? Well, I didn't do anything, but you were in the car. You happened to get pulled over. It just didn't work out for you. So think about who you hang out with. But the other piece is that learn from those around you. If I was staying here at the crisis shelter and I was in your shoes, I would pay attention to everything everybody says and does around here. These women here are so intelligent. I have learned more from my 4 years of hanging out here at the crisis shelter than I have any other time in my life. More than college, high school, any other part of my life, any military training, I've learned more here just from hanging out and listening to the ladies who are here. There are highly intelligent, incredibly experienced women who could tell you all sorts of things. They may not even have to tell you. They could just be telling each other, and you're going to, I've learned how to treat my wife better. I've learned how to treat my daughter. I've learned how to take her on dates. I've learned what dads did wrong. I've learned what they done right. You can learn all those things just from hanging out and watching and listening and paying attention. So that's what this young man, he just learned from everybody around him. Now he takes all that and he designs his life to head toward it. At 18, he gets drafted by the Yankees. Plays in the minor leagues. He's so close to his dream. He can taste it. 21, they call him up to play in the playoffs. They can expand their roster when the playoffs come up. He gets to play in a couple games in the playoffs with the pros, with the Yankees, fulfilling his dream. The minute he walked out on the field, he accomplished his dream. He played so well, the Yankees didn't go to the World Series that year. But the next year, he was a starter for them. And he started playing for them. That year, they went to the World Series. Got his first World Series ring. Got an MVP ring. Today, he's still playing for him. He's dating supermodels. He is projected to be the one to break Pete Rose's single hit record. His name's Derek Jeter. And his book is The Life You Always Dreamed Of. So he's a great example of someone who fulfilled their life, did what they wanted to do, designed their life, and went for it. And I'm going to ask you to try to do the same thing. So you take your dream and your fantasy, which you've always wanted, and you place it kind of at the end of the field. And that's like if you're going bowling. Anybody gone bowling? Mm-hmm. When I was little, I had broken my arm, so my mom was always afraid to let me go bowling. So I did not go bowling until I was in college. So I got the pins down at the end of the lane, and I'm getting ready to bowl. Whoosh, throw the ball down, gutter ball. Whoosh, gutter ball. After about 10 gutter balls, my friends are dying of hysterics. They cannot believe this. But you do always have that one real friend who's going to tell you, hey, what are you doing? Are you a complete knucklehead? What do you think you're doing here? I said, well, I'm aiming for those pins down there. And he's like, well, you can't do that. You got to aim for these little arrows here on the floor. You see them there? Aim for those and you might get more of those pins. So you set up the pins down at the end. That's your ultimate dream, your ultimate fantasy. It's down there at the end of your lane. And think about how stupid that game would be if there were no pins at the end of the lane. How long are you going to throw a ball down an empty lane? You're not going to enjoy that. You're not going to do that. Not for very long. So you set the pins because that's what makes it exciting. That's what gives you the challenge, gives you the adventure. But then you got to draw these little arrows coming down. So I recommend 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months. Start thinking about what it's going to be like if you're heading in the right direction. If you're definitely going to hit something. And you may not get all 10 pins. My kids may never put great works of art on the wall. But you know, if I have my wife there with me at 50 years, I think I'm a pretty good success. If I can still fit in my dress blues, if I can dance with my wife, if I can eat the fried chicken, if I have a few of my bucket list things up there, that'll be a fulfilled life. And I'll be excited about that. I'll enjoy that. I'll be happy, content. So draw the little arrows. As you're doing this, working your way back from 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, and 3 months, start to think, especially if you're a mom, how old are your kids going to be at those different stages? What do they need to know before they get there? I started to think about this, and it's really scary for me to think about. My daughter's going to be 17 years old. She's going to be thinking about college. She's going to be thinking about boys. How am I going to prepare her for that? But if I wait till the last minute, it's going to be too late. So right now, I do, and this is actually another part, is those what I'm going to do right now sort of things. So one of the things I do right now, so that dream comes true at 17. She's loving me. She's caring about me. She's going to be wanting to come to my ultimate party. At 17, I want her to still love me. Think I'm the greatest guy in the world. Think I'm the ultimate man. And little girls sometimes think of that, their daddy. That's what I want her to think. So I take her on dates right now, and I show her how she should expect to be treated someday. I open the doors for her. I pay for the meal. I dress up. I clean the car. I actually go so far as I leave out the back door, get in the garage, get in the car. I go around the block, park in front of the house, and I walk up to the door. I ring the doorbell. I ask for her mother. When my daughter answers the door. She likes to answer the door. And you probably would too if you're on a date. I said, can I speak to your mother first? I would like to greet your parents first. It seems a little corny, but my wife laughs at this, and my boys think this is the most hysterical thing. I bring her flowers, and I take her on these dates, and we talk about all sorts of incredible things. I ask her about her dreams and her hopes and her desires. I even got so bold on our last date, I said, what am I doing wrong? What could I do better as your dad? And she had some pretty insightful things. Some of it I can't help her with, but some of it I can make some adjustments in my life. Because you can't do everything perfect, I guess, so I don't beat myself up over. But there's certain things I can do better. And then I brought her home, and I kissed her on the cheek goodnight. And I tell her at the end of every day, I decided not to do it this time because I've done it so often, she's probably tired of it. But I said, honey, if a boy does not treat you this way, drop the bum. You can call me from anywhere, I'll come pick you up. But I'm thinking of that now because when she's 17, it'll be too late to teach her all those lessons. I need to teach it to her right now.
What do you do if you get robbed of that chance?
Then I will deal with that when it gets there. I'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But I do work through a lot of negative scenarios in my life. But I'm going to suggest to you, as you're dreaming of your ideal life, don't spend a lot of time on the negative possibilities. It gets real easy to get trapped by the negative possibilities. As a leader, I do look at the possibilities, those negative possibilities. Yeah.
And I had 4 kids that got were stolen from us.
And that can be really difficult.
My dream was wrecked, and I didn't do all the bad stuff that you hear people doing.
Yeah.
And I went to church.
Right? Well, you can't do anything about the past, but it's the future you can look at and say, well, how can my future come? You may need to reshape your future.
You got me back.
As you learn things, as you experience things, your dream will change. It will alter a little bit. Maybe the dress blues won't be so important to me by the time I get to this fantasy. But it's a good target for right now. I think about my boys. 5 years from now, they're going to be hitting puberty. I need to prepare them for those experiences. I spent a lot of time thinking about what did I wish I would have known. My parents were pretty good about trying to explain the birds and the bees and all that, but they didn't give me a clue. I was totally confused and lost. I wish they would have said, well, this is how you date. So after the dates, my daughter gets to tell the boys how she was treated. And you know what the message they're getting? You better treat girls this way. Because if I find out they're not treating a girl this way, they're in deep trouble. And they know that. And I'm experiencing this with them. I have guy nights with my boys. Once a week, we sit down and we talk about guy things. Just manly things, killing small animals or whatever. No, I just talk about character. I say, a man is courageous. A man is compassionate. A man does the right things. He defends the purity of women. We talk about these things, and they're 7 and 9. But I'm building this into their heart, into their character. But these are things you got to work on and develop a plan to get there. Again, the areas you want to focus on: physical, mental, spiritual, social. I also added in on my list professional. What do I need to do to grow professionally? And as you're making this list, it's stuff that you want to start right now. Don't put it off till next week or next month when the sun shines a certain way or the stars are aligned in a certain way. It'll never be the right time to get started with your dreams. But if you make your dreams so exciting and so desirable, you're going to go for it. So you start developing plans to get from here to your next step 3 months from now. Remember that dream of 3 months from now? What's it going to be? For me, just for one example, just to give you one example, I have a dream 3 months from now, just a little bit less than that. I'm going to run 40 miles for my 40th birthday. I'm going to leave my house. I'm going to run down to the Centennial Trail, and I'm taking it into Idaho. 40 miles for my 40th birthday. So that means today I have certain things I must do. I must drink a gallon of water a day in order to be hydrated enough for this. I must run 40 miles a week or more. I must do some other exercises besides running if I want to be able to pull this off. So those become those exact things. I know how much I need to do. And I've done the research, I've done some planning, I've done some training of my own. Ran a marathon, that's how I learned about the water thing. But you develop a plan and you decide how you're going to get to it. But it has to be very specific. When you're talking about the things you're going to start right now, you can't be, well, I'm going to get healthier. You have to have detail. I'm going to exercise 3 times a week. It has to be the detail of, I'm going to pray every single morning. I'm going to read X number of pages in my Bible if you're trying to grow spiritually on the spiritual element. I'm going to pray this long every day. My biggest goal spiritually has just been consistency. I'm one of those I'm a great prayer guy for like 3 days in a row. And then the 4th day, not so good. 5th day, not at all. But not this year. No way. I have this on my list. Boom, boom, boom. You will do this. You will spend time with God just hanging out. Visiting. So physical, mental, spiritual, social, professional. You might want to add in housing. What are you going to do right now to get to your dream housing? Where do you want to live 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year, 5 years from now? I want to have this house paid off. That means I've got to make those payments. I got to make those repairs while I still have my kids at home and I'm getting pretty decent tax refunds. That government may change that on me in the future. I got to pay toward the mortgage on a regular basis. I've got to make a plan for how am I going to get a new roof eventually. Eventually I'm going to have to get a new roof. I'm going to have to fix the water heater. With all these, I got to make sure that it's in good repair. It'll be miserable if I'm coming back from this 50th wedding anniversary party and we come down to a broken down old house.
Or a burnt down house.
Oh, that would be even worse, a burned down old house. Don't want that. So I got to do these things right now. So I have a specific plan. This month, this is what we're doing. We're fixing our yard up because our yard was pretty embarrassing. Not quite as bad as some of the neighbors. I live in kind of a rough neighborhood, so they got cars, parts, and shot out windows. And mine's a little better than that, but not much. It wasn't. It's much better now because we start putting some work into it. But we do it little bit by little bit, and much better than waiting to the end. So are there any questions about how to develop and design this life that you've always dreamed of? Right. I believe in every one of you. I want you to know that right off the get-go. Everyone who's walked through this gate has potential to accomplish it. I have yet to meet one who could not possibly do it. And I've met some really out there people. And you aren't even part of that out there people. So you can pull it off. You can do it. You can accomplish it. But not if you just sit around and hope it happens. It's going to take effort, work, discipline, but you're going to have to design what you want. So go do it. Let's be successful.